Hello guys, TKC here. Welcome to episode 3 of Deck Doctor. So, the deck challenge that was this week was to build a Mono Darkness deck. And I had a couple entries. They're all really awesome. I'm going to be leaving them all in the description. They're very different from each other, which is why I really liked it. But I chose the one that I was expecting the most, and I felt is the best version of Mono Darkness. And I chose TeamxUnchained's version of the deck. So congratulations. He is running a control version of the build, which I really like. It's really cool. It has a lot of different awesome stuff going on in the deck. So I'm going to be showing that off right now, and I'm also going to be giving my fixes, but it's more of my take on the Mono Darkness build. It's not really fixes per se, it's just more of this is how I would transform the deck into a deck that I would prefer to play, and it's more of an aggressive deck. Alright guys, so check it out right now. So TeamxUnchained calls this deck Batman Begins, which is because he said it is his first time ever making a Mono Darkness build, so it's a pretty cool name. And yeah, this deck is 40 cards, 30 creatures, and 10 spells, I believe. So let's get straight to it. We got 3 Scavenging Chimeras. It's pretty obvious. It's because it is the Mono Darkness card, and it's very useful. It provides pressure early on because it's a level 2 3000, and it also provides utility for the fact that you could actually go grab your Chimera Evolutions or Chimera Bait back from your discard pile. Now we got 2 Skeeter Swarmers, which is great for early blockers, helps against rush. And to complement that, we got 2 Scaradorable of Gloom Hollow, which is pretty much one of the best bait for Hydra Medusa. And we got also 3 Dream Pirates, which are even more blockers for the deck to help against rush mainly. Then for other chimeras, we also got 2 Screeching Scaradorable. Very awesome effect because you could actually use it in 2 different ways, and they're both also really good. You would preferably like to get the first effect off that banishes level 2, but if it's not a level 2, you actually get to make sure that it can't block you for the turn, so that could be really good late game. And we also got the Bat-Breath Scaradorables who can't be blocked or attacked, so these are just pretty much really good Chimera bait for the Hydra Medusas. We also got 2 Rupture Spiders, which is an interesting inclusion. I really like this card. I like this card ever since I first saw it, mainly because it stops Gilaflame, and it's 6000 power, so it could actually trade with a lot of the bigger stuff like Tatsurion and Tatsurion the Unchained, and pretty much most of the Tatsurions. So this is a pretty decent card. Then next we got one of the really important inclusions in this deck, which is the 3 Blackfeather Shadow Abyss. It's the draw engine of this deck. There's not really much draw cards in Darkness, and this is probably the best one that you could actually use. So it just provides you so much advantage once you get this off, and then you just keep on chaining all your removal cards. And then of course you have to use the 3 Hydra Medusa. It is the main reason why you want to use Chimeras. Basically to get these guys off and to pretty much have a Terror Pit on wheels that actually works with Blackfeather Shadow Abyss. Very amazing card. Turn 6 we got 2 Razorkinder Puppets. Always been a great card. It's really nice to look at your opponent's hand and choose a card. It's really good against Gilaflame once again. Gilaflame's put on the pressure. You get this guy out and get that out of the hand right away. We also follow that up with 3 Dark Scaradorable. I don't have 3 sadly, so I'm just putting a Tekamora in as a replacement, I guess. But it also works in the deck as well. It's a level 6 double breaker, but this has fast attack, a lot more power, and actually has a second effect, which could be of some use, but it won't really work that often. But Dark Scaradorable, really great finisher. It's the main finisher of the deck, pretty much, besides your Evos. And then we got 2 Razorkinder for more removal to work with the Black Feathers, and it's always been a good card, you know, just having a Death Smoke in a body is really good. And then the last creature in this deck is a pretty cute inclusion, if I do say so myself. It's Trox, General Destruction. It's pretty cool that it's a double breaker, and then it also has the potential chance of it being a Bone Blades, which works with the Black Feathers. So that's it for the creatures. It's 30 creatures. And now we're going to go on to the spells. There are only 10 spells in here. So for level 2, we just have 1 Dark Return, which is really nice to bring any creature back to the hand, so you could go and grab those Hydra Medusas, Dark Scaradorables back, which is really nice. You have to run the triple Bone Blade. It's amazing, especially with the Evos now, so you have to run this. He's running 2 Return from Beyond. I guess it's pretty good, you know, you can get back your Evo Bait and evolve Evolutions on top of it next turn, or maybe in the same turn, if you manage to get to a high enough mana cost, like like 9 for example. Then we obviously have to have the 3 Terror Pits here. And last we got 1 cute Skull Shatter just to end things off and end things with a bang and just get rid of their whole hand. So TeamxUnchained's deck was pretty cool. I like how he pretty much made a control-based version of the build. I'm going to make some fixes to the deck, but I wouldn't take them too harshly because I like your version of the deck. I like it as a control deck, but I also kind of like the deck to be more of an aggressive build because the Chimeras are very aggressive. And there's not much you could really do with just darkness cards as far as control goes. While it does have a lot of awesome removal, at the same time it's kind of like, I don't know, like it's missing a lot of the the draw spells from water variants of control that it's really lacking. And so I feel that this deck, since it's missing a lot of the core parts of control, it kind of needs to be a bit more aggressive than other control decks. And so that's why I made a bit of more of an aggro kind of control deck version. So I made about 13 changes, but yeah, don't take them too harshly. This is just my preferences, but if you'd like to try out my version instead of yours, feel free. So the first change I'm going to make is actually take out a Dark Scaradorable and add in a Tekkamora the Wretched. This is not just because I only have 2 Dark Scaradorable, but at the same time I feel that the Tekkamora provides some sort of like awesome kind of addition to the deck that could provide you different answers than Dark Scaradorable. Yes, it is a finisher, but at the same time, with your Medusas and all the other cards putting pressure, you don't really need to have 3 Dark Scaradorbles. I think it's kind of pushing it a bit. So actually having the 3rd Dark Scaradorable become a Tekkamora the Wretched provides more power to the deck, and at the same time, you could actually have it use its second effect, which doesn't happen too often, but the fast attack really helps because it's an evolution. So that's one of the changes. The next change I'm going to make is I'm actually going to take out 1 Scavenging Chimera. This may seem very weird because it's a mono dark deck and you need to use 3 because it's the mono dark, but I feel that in this version of the deck, without like Gigabolver and Marrow Ooze, this doesn't really have a presence early on. And so sometimes you have to think to yourself, do you want to have this in your opening hand or not? And personally, I wouldn't want to have this in my opening hand in this version of the deck because there's no kind of Gigabolvers or Marrow Oozes to actually abuse it with. So I feel that it's actually a lot better at 2. And so for that, I'm actually going to replace this with the Dark Return, because this is a Shield Blast, which you would like to have more often. And at the same time, sure, this is also just as bad as this. You don't want to have it early, but you know, you could just put that in mana. I don't know, I just like having an equal balance of each for different kind of scenarios. And sure, this is awesome at 3 because it's the cheapest Chimera in the deck that works well, but you don't necessarily need it with all the other Chimeras. I feel that turn 3 and 4 is already occupied with you summoning Chimeras, so I like it better at 2 personally, but this doesn't really need to change. This is just a preference kind of thing. The next change I'm going to make is because this deck wanted to be more of an aggressive deck, I actually went ahead and removed all the other blockers in the deck. So the 2 Rupture Spider and the 3 Dream Pirates, I got rid of those altogether. I really don't like the Dream Pirates personally. This is just a personal preference. I don't know, I don't feel that they provide too much use anymore because we have Scaradorable of Gloom Hollow that does everything better than this, I find. So for budget issues, sure, I would, you know, gladly include these instead because you kind of really have no choice, I guess. But other than that, I don't really see the point of having this in the deck. And Rupture Spider, I personally really like Rupture Spider. It's just that in an aggressive build, I don't really feel I have much room for it. Maybe as like a tech or something, but I think in my build I have 5 blockers, so I think that's plenty in an aggressive build. So we're going to scrap these as well. And so to replace that, I noticed that you only had 2 Scaradorable of Gloom Hollow, so I'm going to add a 3rd one. So if you don't have a 3rd one, I'm sorry about that, but with all the other cards in your deck, it seemed like budget wasn't a problem. You had a lot of shiny and expensive cards in there, so I figured that, you know, you might as well have a 3rd Gloom Hollow. You just gotta find one, I guess, if you don't have one, but you really need it at 3. It's one of the best bait ever. And also, for more Chimeras and for more level 3s instead of the Dream Pirates, I'm using 3 Gigastan. The main reason why I'm running 3 Gigastand is because, well, first of all, it's another Chimera, so of course you want to use this with Hydra Medusa. But at the same time, if you think about it, this is the Aqua Seneschal of Mono Darkness. You kind of need this card. It's like you don't have much draw cards at your disposal. You really only have the Black Feathers to generate card advantage. And so by having these 3, you can actually apply pressure on your opponent because you're forcing them to discard cards, and at the same time it's a Chimera. And there's a lot of awesome turn 4 follow-up plays that could actually get this through. We have Screeching Scaradorable, we have Bone Blades, and so for that, Giga Stand is pretty much an obvious inclusion in my version of the build anyway. In the control deck, I guess you wouldn't really want to use this, maybe? I don't know. I just feel it's really good. It's like, I mean, if Aqua Seneschal is being used in control decks, I don't see why Giga Stand shouldn't be used in a Mono Darkness control deck, because it is the Aqua Seneschal of the deck. So I think this is a really important card, and I think it's very underrated as well. And so the last replacement of those 5 cards I showed earlier is the 3rd Screeching, so you can actually be sure that your Giga Stand goes through turn 4. So when you get this off, turn 4 you can play this, or you could play the Bone Blades to get rid of any blockers that are in the way. And if it's a blocker that is a higher level than 2, you just say, okay, don't block. You can't block this turn, I'll make my Giga Stand go through anyway. And so by having this, you also have 2 Chimeras on the field. So sure, they could get rid of your Giga Stand next turn with a blocker, but hey, you got a Chimera still, and you could just evolve Hydra Medusa on top of that, get rid of their blocker, whatever else they have, and continue on with the game. So I think this is a really awesome combination, you know, having Giga Stand turn 3 for that pressure, and then just keeping on applying the pressure by actually getting its effect off by having 6 cards turn 4 that could actually get rid of stuff that's in your way. Alright, so now the rest of the cards I'm adding in the deck are actually spells, believe it or not. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of the 2 Razorkinders and the Trox. The thing with my version of the deck, because it's not really control, it's more aggro, we don't really have much time to actually play these cards. We would rather just keep on summoning those cheap creatures or playing the cheap removal spells to get stuff out of the way and generate more advantage through Black Feather. And I don't know, I think level 7 should be just reserved for the Terror Pits in this version of the build. So I'm going to be scrapping these out. I'm actually removing those for 3 spells, and you probably know them very well, 3 Death Smoke. This may seem very, very kind of pushy, you know. Death Smoke is also a pretty conditional card, you know. Just like Razorkinder, it doesn't get its effect off as much, but because this is level 5, you actually have a higher chance of actually getting it to work. You know, level 5, they won't always have the evolution on board, and so Death Smoke kind of prevents them from getting to that turn 6 evolution or something like that. You know, like they won't always have the Emperor Neuron or the Bronze Arm Sabretooth or all that fast, and that's where Death Smoke comes in. And so the last 3 cards I'm taking out of the deck are Skull Shatter, Return from Beyond, and Bat-Breath Scaradorable. I'm keeping 1, I'm taking out a second one. So here are my reasoning. Skull Shatter, okay, I think it's fine in your deck. It's a control deck, so I think it kind of has room for this. But when I play tested this card, I felt that I never ever played it whenever I wanted to. Because you're only running 1, you have a very low chance of actually getting it, and because it's not a shield blast, it won't matter if it's in your shields. So the thing with Skull Shatter is that, like, you really need to run a very, very, very grindy control deck, like the most optimal control deck to actually be able to run these. And I would personally only run it at 2 because of the really steep cost. It's not really splashable at 1, I find. So, like, there was just a lot more things that I would rather do than play Skull Shatter, so that is going to be scrapped. Now, Return from Beyond, this is a very interesting subject. This has a lot of varied opinions from a lot of different people. I'm personally only running 1. I just like it as a tech card, and it doesn't really work that well in my deck. It's good with the Screeching Scaradorable, but that's it. But I wouldn't run it at more than 2. And lastly, we have the Bat-Breath Scaradorable. I personally don't really have a real reason to actually remove this. I just had space issues. I am running a 40-card deck just like yours, so I like it to be consistent. I like to be able to do that Giga Stand play into the removal play next turn. I think that's a really strong play, and then turn 5 you just bring out the Black Feather, and then just keep on chaining your removal spells. So, I mean, Bat-Breath, I think it actually could work at 2, but I'm going to remove 1 just for now. And what I'm replacing these 3 cards with is, you know, a card that I'm not too fond of, but at the same time, considering this is Mono Darkness, it could have any advantage it really needs, and so I'm using 3 Spectre Claw. I personally don't like this card, like I said many times, but I feel in a Mono Darkness deck, it really doesn't have that many cards that kind of give it an upper hand versus your opponent. And so I feel that the the 3 Spectre Claw is just really nice to have that early advantage against your opponent. I just like this a lot against the rush decks especially. Like, it just hurts them so bad. You know, like, they had their awesome line of play, and then you play Spectre Claw, and they're like, what do I do? What do I discard out of my, like, 3 cards in my hand, you know? Like, what happened to my line of play? It just went right through the garbage now. Like, I could choose to get rid of my turn 3 play, which is going to be the Laser Arm Drakon, or my Gilaflame, or my removal spell for the blocker. You know, it's really annoying card, and it's even better in Shield Blast as well. And so because I removed the Skull Shatter, you know, these could actually find a place in the deck, because they'll actually be useful most of the time. There were times where this is not useful, but that's where you just put it in mana and play stronger cards. So it's really more of an early game card, and that's why you gotta run 3, because you want this in your opening hand, you want to put the pressure early on. And that's pretty much all the changes I made to the deck. There were a lot of changes, but take note that these are actually 2 very different kind of decks, and so you could really play either deck either way, and I think you'd be fine. This is just my personal preference of how Mono Darkness should run. It's been testing really well so far, and I hope it goes well for you guys as well. So congratulations to TeamxUnchained, really awesome deck. So for next week, we're going to be doing something different. We're not going to have a challenge for next week. So I would hold back on submitting decks until I make up a new challenge for next week. But out of all the submissions so far between the 2 episodes, there was one deck that really stood out that I'd like to show off. It was really cool. So get prepared, guys, because one of you are going to be getting picked. So don't worry about not being picked in the first 2 episodes, because one of you guys will be picked for the 3rd episode. So like I said again, check out the decks in the description. The other entries are there as well. Very awesome decks. Alright, hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Deck Doctor. I'm going to be heading out now. See you guys later. Have a nice day.